I moved in thinking I'd finally found peace. The neighborhood was beautiful, quiet, and clean. The kind of place where people wave at each other and lawnmowers hum like background music. I parked my truck in my own driveway, just like any normal homeowner would. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine, well kept and fully registered. I didn't expect it to become a problem, but apparently it was. Not to everyone, just to one particular neighbor, Karen. She wasn't just any resident. She ran the whole like her personal kingdom. The first time I heard about her was through a note left on my windshield calling my truck a disgrace to the view. I laughed at first, but the laughter stopped when the official HOA letters started pouring in. That's when I realized this wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a challenge, and I don't lose. Not without a fight she'll never forget. One ordinary afternoon, I pulled into the driveway after a long, exhausting day at work and froze. My truck wasn't there. The space was completely empty. Not a scratch on the concrete where it should have been. My heart skipped. I looked around, thinking maybe I parked it somewhere else and forgot. But no, it was gone. My first thought was theft. I called the police, reported it stolen. And while they asked routine questions, I saw her, Karen, standing on her porch, with that smug little smirk on her face and a tall glass of iced tea in her hand. Like she was watching a neighborhood play she directed herself. I hung up the call, stormed over, and asked if she saw anything. Without blinking, she said, "Yes, I called to have it towed. It was violating community standards." Her voice was flat, unapologetic, and rehearsed like she had practiced that line in the mirror. I stood there stunned, not even sure how to respond. She'd towed my truck from my own driveway just because she didn't like how it looked. I couldn't wrap my head around the nerve it took to do something like that. But it didn't stop there. She claimed the truck was in violation of HOA rules. Even though I'd read that booklet cover to cover and knew she was lying, I tried contacting the HOA board, but surprise, Karen had enough allies to shut down my complaint instantly. I paid a ridiculous fine, recovered my truck, and thought it might end there. But the moment I parked it back in my driveway, another note appeared, this time not handwritten, but official HOA letterhead warning me that further violations would result in escalation. That was the moment everything shifted. This wasn't about a truck. This was about control, about power, about Karen flexing her position to bully me into submission. But instead of getting scared or backing down, I felt something else: focus. I knew exactly what I had to do. She wanted to make my life harder. Fine. But she'd never see what was coming, not until it was too late. And when I was done, she'd never forget the day she declared war over a parking spot. The next morning, I didn't waste any time. I walked straight across the street to Karen's front porch, rang the bell, and waited. She opened the door wearing that same icy expression, like she expected me to be groveling. I stayed calm, polite even, and simply asked her why she had my truck towed. Her lips curled into a smile so smug it made my skin crawl. "Just following the rules, neighbor," she said slowly, like she was reading from a script written by her own ego. I reminded her that my truck was parked within my property, with no violation of HOA codes. She shrugged and said, "Majority ruled." That's when it clicked. This wasn't just her acting alone. She had built a small empire within the HOA, stacking votes, manipulating meetings, and bending every rule until it broke under her thumb. When I reached out to the HOA board, I got the same replies, cold emails, and sudden policy changes that all pointed back to her influence. One board member even hinted that Karen had been doing this for years, targeting people who didn't fit her vision of the neighborhood. I tried to appeal the violation, denied. I tried to raise the issue at the next HOA meeting, canceled. It was like every door was shut before I could even knock. Karen had surrounded herself with enough support to rule unchecked. That's when it hit me. I wasn't dealing with a neighbor. I was dealing with a tyrant. She didn't want peace. She wanted power. And while she smiled and waved in public, behind the scenes she was pulling strings like a puppet master. I felt trapped, boxed in by invisible walls made of fine print and fake smiles. But even a cornered man has one advantage. He knows exactly which direction to strike. That night, I sat in my garage, lights off, just staring at the empty wall and thinking. Not about giving up, not about moving out, but about one thing: how to hit back without ever lifting a finger. Against the law, if Karen could use the rules. Against me, I'd find a way to use the ground beneath her feet. She'd towed my truck. Now it was time to return the favor, only this time, it wouldn't be wheels that were moving. It would be concrete. 2 days later, while Karen was away for the weekend, I made my move. I hired a small crew and gave them precise instructions. No shortcuts, no mistakes. I wanted this done right and permanent. The crew started early Saturday morning, mixing cement, hauling bags, and pouring solid slabs in front of Karen's garage door. I watched from a distance, hidden behind the bushes, feeling a strange mix of satisfaction and nerves. This wasn't petty anymore, it was justice. The concrete wasn't just any barrier. It was thick, heavy, and completely sealed. No gaps, no cracks, no way for her to open the garage or back her car out. By Sunday morning, the job was done. The concrete wall gleamed in the sunlight, solid as a fortress. I could almost hear Karen's frustration from across the street, though she wasn't home yet. When she returned Monday, I made sure to be outside, acting casual as she pulled up to her driveway, only to find her garage blocked by an immovable wall. Her face turned red, then white, then angry beyond words. She screamed, banged on the concrete, shouted threats, but it was useless. There was no way around it, no way to back out, no way to open it. Karen's empire had just hit its first real roadblock, and it was mine. Karen came back and lost it completely. She screamed, cried, and threatened to sue me, but all her anger was wasted. The concrete wall wasn't just some random barrier, it stood right on my property line. Every inch of it was legal, and the HOA had no power to make me remove it. For months, she was forced to park her car on the street, watching helplessly as her garage stayed sealed shut. Her plans to intimidate me backfired in the worst way. What she thought was a simple fight over a truck turned into a battle she couldn't win. The whole neighborhood noticed the change. Karen's usual control and arrogance faded, replaced by frustration and silence. As for me, I finally had peace, not just from Karen's bullying, but from the constant fear of losing what was mine. Let's just say she never messed with my truck again, and somehow, the whole neighborhood felt a little calmer after that concrete wall went up.